Hello there, my name is Cynthia, and today is one of the happiest days of my life as I'm marrying the man of my dreams, Jonathan, who works for a large financial advisory firm. The only downside was that my parents had passed away years ago, but thankfully my sister stepped in and agreed that she would walk me down the aisle. We considered asking my future father-in-law, but both of Jonathan's parents are classy people and I always feel nervous around them. I'm afraid that I'll say or do something that will make them think less of me, and so I didn't ask them to walk me down the aisle. The ceremony was perfect and everything went smoothly. Afterwards, we invited everyone back to the reception party. There were so many people there to celebrate our special day with us. Suddenly, the host made an announcement that my co-workers had arranged the making of a movie to celebrate our special day. The lights in the hall went out and a projector was turned on. At first, there was nothing on the screen, but then images appeared on the screen of me being intimate with my ex. I was mortified, both that my naked body was on the screen, but also because people would think that the images were recent and therefore think the worst. There were so many images as well, and you could clearly see my face in all of them. I could tell by the shocked looks on people's faces that they were horrified. Quickly, the host turned off the screen and apologized to the crowd, but the damage had already been done. Among the crowd were my friends, my boss from work, my co-workers, and all my relatives had heard me having sex with my ex-boyfriend. Ashamed, Jonathan and I left the room and headed somewhere to be private. I didn't know what to say. It was obvious that images were of me and that I had been having sex with my ex-boyfriend. But we had broken up many years ago, and I hadn't seen him since. I didn't know what to make of it. Who was trying to sabotage my new marriage? After all, it couldn't be one of Jonathan's jealous exes. It wasn't like I stole him from someone. Rather, we met at a cafe and slowly began to date over the course of a few months. Both of us were single at the time, and our love for one another grew naturally. And as for my ex, I had heard that he had moved on as well, and had even gotten married, although I have no idea to who or where he even lived anymore. I was so hurt and confused. Who had a grudge against me that they would try to ruin my special day like this? When Jonathan's parents came into the room, they accused me of cheating on Jonathan, which was insane. I tried to convince them that this was all a massive mistake and that I would never cheat on him. I truly loved him more than anyone in the whole world, but I knew that if I were in their shoes, that I would be convinced of the same thing. Thankfully, Jonathan didn't agree with them, and he believed me that it wasn't true, that I would never cheat on him in a million years. He promised me that he still loved me. In the end, our marriage was put on hold, though, at the request of Jonathan's parents. They insisted that they would get to the bottom of this and actually hired private investigators who began to investigate everyone in our lives. Jonathan was amazing through it all. He apologized for this unfortunate situation, but I knew that I was the one that should apologize. I don't know what happened, but I was the one that had embarrassed him and his parents, even though the pictures were from a long time ago in my life. It was nevertheless causing us strife. I needed to know who was behind this and why they were trying to ruin our lives together. I was curious to know who had planted those photos at the reception and what motivation they had to hurt me like this. A few months later, Jonathan called me up and told me that they had found the guy that had done it, and he told me to get my sister and to head over to his place immediately. I was ecstatic that I would finally be able to prove my innocence. However, as soon as I arrived, the investigators told us that my own sister had been the one to do it. I didn't know what to say. Apparently, the detective had found that when they searched my sister's home, that they had found dozens and dozens of hidden cameras. Her whole house was rigged with surveillance cameras. I couldn't believe my ears. With tears in her eyes, she looked up at me.
I'm so sorry, Cynthia. Back when you were living with me, I began to worry about you and our safety, so I installed cameras in every room of the house. It started because I wanted to keep tabs on you and make sure that you were safe. But then, when I found out that you were going to be married, I panicked and I began to feel an intense loneliness. I knew that once you were married that you would spend less time with me and that I would be all but forgotten. So I made a plan to try to break you two up. I put some old photos on a CD and gave them to the host at the reception.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not only did I feel violated knowing now that my sister had been recording my life for years, but that she was actually trying to ruin my marriage just so that she wouldn't have to be alone. Sis, I understand that it's been hard for you since Mom and Dad passed away, but I can't believe that you would do something so cruel. Although I would have less time to spend with you, there would be no way that you would be completely out of my life. Do you understand what you've done? You're ruining my life. Jonathan stepped in between us and tried to de-escalate the situation.
I'm sorry if this is hard on you, but Cynthia and I are getting married, and there isn't anything that you can do to prevent us from spending our lives together.
My sister began sobbing uncontrollably. She was clearly devastated that we had found out and that her actions could ruin our relationship. I cut ties with her and vowed that even though she was my sister, that I would never speak to her ever again. Not long after we got married, although we didn't have another reception, but it was okay. We had each other, and that was all that mattered. Although not long after, my sister began going to Jonathan's firm and making a scene. Each day he had to sneak out of work to avoid coming into contact with her. As if trying to ruin my wedding was bad enough, now my sister was stalking my new husband. We contemplated going to the police, but we doubted that they would do anything, and instead, we just chose to upgrade the security around our house. We installed some motion sensors and cameras that scanned the outside of our home. Not long after that, my sister continued to show up at Jonathan's work and even began to scream about how Jonathan was cheating on me. Of course, these were false accusations, but she was actively trying to cause as much problems for him as possible. And when that didn't work, she swore that she would kill him. She vowed that she wouldn't let him come in between us. We were sisters, and that he was trying to ruin that special relationship. It wasn't until she went to his work and attempted to attack Jonathan that we were forced to press charges against her. When the police showed up, they found a handgun in her purse, and since she had recently threatened his life. In the end, we placed charges on her and got a restraining order. Here was someone who I had grown up with my entire life and had lost her mind. Luckily for us, Jonathan was able to transfer to a position that was on the other side of the country. If she wanted to, I have no doubt that she could track us down, but we didn't care. We were too busy enjoying our new marriage and our new home. Moving across the country was the best thing for us. We thrived in our new location. Both of us loved our new home and our new jobs. Looking back, our wedding day was both one of the happiest days of my life and one of the saddest as well. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.